Hey guys, welcome back to another video of the AI Exam Tutor series, and in this part I'm going to be testing the V1 prototype which I mentioned or demonstrated in the previous video. And yeah, I'm going to be testing it on the OCR A-Level Physics 2018 paper 1. And yeah, only on the written questions. The written question is generally what this AI is designed for. So for example, physics has a lot of calculation questions like here, not here. Also no labeled questions since those are a bit difficult to measure using written word. Here's another calculation. So there's a lot of calculation questions. So the actual number of written questions is relatively low. I've taken them all, put them into the format of this AI, of this program, and yeah, I'm just going to be running tests on this and judging how accurate the GPT-3 and GPT-4 engines are. So here's the overall test format. I'm going to go through each question and write question ID, write the total number of marks available for that question, write the actual number of marks gained, because remember, I'm not going to be able to get 100% on each one. The number of marks GPT 3.5 awards, the number of correct highlights. So if you don't know what a highlight is, let me see if I can get an example. So say measure length with meter ruler and measure time with stopwatch. I know that's one of the marks. And if I click a mark here, it should get, yeah. So this is a highlight, where it highlights the part of the text which gained you the mark. So the number of correct highlights, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And then what I'm also going to do is, if GPT 3.5 gets it wrong, then I'm going to switch over to use GPT-4 and do the same sort of thing there. So test how many GPT-4 gets correct and how many GPT-4 correctly highlights. Okay, so I'm going to play a time lapse of this now. It should be about 2 minutes, and then you can skip to see the results. Okay, so here are the results of the test. As you can see, it was actually a lot more accurate than I thought it would be, so this shows a lot of promise. And what you need to be looking at for accuracy is, well, these are the actual number of marks gained based on my judgment and actually use a mark scheme. And then these are the number of marks GPT-3 awarded. So for most questions, it's the same, which is good. You can see there's slight discrepancy here and slight discrepancy there, but apart from that, that is the only issue. So one thing that might be the issue is I also need to conduct tests on slightly less accurate data, since if this is to do with students trying to improve, then the number of marks, see this is total marks, you can see that most of the time it's full marks, and we want to try and test with slightly less accurate information to get a better idea. But this is looking good so far. There's a few notes here, so I'll just go through them briefly. Some highlights were not accurate. So you can see if we look at the number of correct highlights, it's generally the same, but let me see if I can find an example. So this is number of highlights. Yeah, so there's discrepancy there. The allocated marks was 3, but it only highlighted 2 for some reason. Over here, wrong highlights, but then GPT-4 gets it correct. Same here. GPT-4 actually messes up here for some reason, but yeah. So highlighting is generally seen, I think it's a problem. It's not really GPT-3 itself, but I think it's the format it returns in. Sometimes it doesn't return it as an exact quotation, which means I can't actually locate it in a student's answer. So that shouldn't be too hard to fix. Sometimes GPT 3.5 was being a bit too generous. Like if it says the amplitude is smaller and you wrote amplitude 2 micrometers, I suppose it's trained to think 2 micrometers is really small. So it kind of equates these two, even though that's not specifically what we're looking for. Here's a comparative statement, whereas here it's just a absolute. So sometimes we might, it's been a bit too generous and giving out too many marks, and that's the opposite of what I want. If anything, I want it to be too strict. GPT-4 doesn't seem to have the same issue, which is good. I think GPT-4 can follow instructions a lot better. It's a lot higher training data, so it makes sense. But yeah, this can probably be fixed with a different marking algorithm, slightly different, still using the same sort of concept. GPT-4 also had greater text accuracy, so this was what I was talking about, where GPT-3 wasn't able to get the correct highlights, but GPT-4 was. Same sort of thing, GPT-4, you can see these. So obviously I'm going to have to change the mark scheme format a little bit, but it shouldn't be too hard. And yeah, overall these are some good results. So I'll get further testing with a bit more less accurate answers, and yeah, we'll evaluate the accuracy of GPT-3 and 4 further. Also, I added in the current date because these were actually a lot better than I thought they'd be. So maybe it had something to do with the load on ChatGPT's servers at the time. Sorry, OpenAI servers. But yeah, you can see this was actually a relatively expensive run. It cost me 27 cents for 30 marks. So that's around 1 cent per mark. And generally, the majority of that was just every time I called GPT-4, since it's 60 times more expensive. So, you know, I have to balance out how much I call GPT-4 with the accuracy it provides, because it's a lot more expensive. But yeah, overall good testing run, good results, and I'm pretty happy, so I'm going to be continuing development. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a future video.